Hello everyone, my name is Gracian and welcome to a new game glance of a game called Traveler's Rest. Traveler's Rest is a really wonderful little simulation game where you build and operate a tavern where you cook food, you brew beverages, and you sell them to your patrons. And you kind of slowly level up, your skills and stuff with crafting and brewing and cooking. And you upgrade your tavern, you get better decorations, better equipment and different recipes and things like that. It's a really beautiful little game, and it's been in early access as of recording of this video. It's been in early access for about 2 years almost, so do keep that in mind. It is kind of working kind of slowly through that early access part, but I do remember playing the demo say a year ago or so, and I had a lot of fun with it, and I finally ended up picking it up, and I don't regret it at all. It's a really fun game. So what do you do in this game exactly? So I'm about, I would say, in the early middle game of my play of the game. I'm on day 17 or so, like that. So what I do every day, I wake up, go ahead and make my bed here. And so let's just go through the UI real quick. I'm not super worried about the time because there's really nothing threatening that's going to happen if I just waste the whole day away. So you can see here we're in the very wee hours of Wednesday here. It's not even 6:30 in the morning yet. Here's my money. This is actually quite a bit of money because you make money pretty slowly actually. And then so I think the day ends at 2 a.m. kind of like Stardew Valley. So what happens is you want to close up shop around 11 or 12 p.m. If you have patrons in your tavern. Down here we have the temperature inside the place, which you have to keep comfortable. If it gets too cold or too hot, patrons do not like that. Here's the cleanliness of your tavern. You have to keep it cleanly or people will leave with a bad taste in their mouth, so to speak, about the status of your place. You do have an inventory as well. I have mine mapped to tab to open up the main inventory. I have all sorts of random stuff in here. I use the sort button quite a bit because there's quite a bit of stuff going on in here. There's ore, there's smelting, there's wood cutting and crafting, things like that. I've got, buckets of water I need to bring into the kitchen to brew things and stuff like that. I have various tools as well, and I just have copper. I believe you can make better stuff, but I don't know actually. That may not be in the game yet actually. And the all-important mop. We'll use this to clean up things as well as smack patrons in the head if they're being unruly, which is pretty funny. You also need candles and light sources to keep your tavern well lit, or people won't like that either. We also have in here, my tavern's name is Stinky Peas. I'm not going to go into why it's called that, but that's the name of my tavern. I've got a pretty decent satisfaction here, and I've got prices plus 4% from the satisfaction and stuff, which is interesting. This shows the maximum occupancy. I will show you the tables and chairs and stuff. This shows my income and stuff like that. I don't have any staff, but that is something you can do later on. And I've got my all-time staff. I've had 631 satisfied customers. I've had to expel 19 customers, and I've had a total of 740. So there were a number of them that weren't very happy with the place, but that is okay. We're working on that. We also have, I have quests that are in progress. I'm not going to really go into that, but there are things you can get experience for. Here is the tech tree. Tech tree is really interesting. If you've played Graveyard Keeper, I have these different types of experience. So there's blue, red, and green experience that come from different things. The blue tends to come from cooking and crafting in the kitchen. The red tends to come from smelting ore and cutting lumber and that kind of stuff. And I don't remember where the green comes from. And you can use that to unlock stuff. You can see I've got a pretty good bank of stuff here. So you start with basically grog and gruel. You serve really crappy, watered down alcohol to people and really terrible, very low quality food. And then as you unlock things, you'll be able to make mild ale. I have lagers, pales, porters, meads, amber ales, and wines unlocked as well. And I have enough points to get kind of some other stuff, but I'm still playing with the different options. In cooking here, you start with, again, gruel, but then you quickly get porridge. Porridge is actually, I still make porridge periodically. It's by no means outmoded, but my main food I make now is stews and some soups. I've unlocked breads, which people like. They're kind of cheap, so I don't make them a ton because I don't want people buying the cheap stuff. I can roast different meats, and I can make sausages now, and sausages go for a pretty penny, actually. There's farming in the game, so I'll show you guys outside my tavern what it looks like. And I can farm grains, so I've got rye, wheat, barley, and corn. I can get root vegetables, carrots, potatoes, garlics, etc. Onion. There's onions on there twice for some reason. Onion crop. And apples and pears. I can grow apples and pears now. Now, they don't grow on trees like you might expect. They just kind of grow like a vine plant, and then you harvest it, and it just goes away. It's kind of silly. But I assume at some point in the early access, before release, they'll change it to be more like an orchard kind of deal, because that doesn't make much sense. And I can do berries, which I unlocked because I wanted to play with the wines as well. There's a lot of other stuff I haven't unlocked, and again, I could get them pretty easily. I've just been kind of practicing and playing with all the different things. I love how this peach looks like a butt. And in the building tree, again, there's so much stuff to unlock. You start with like basically very little of this stuff, and I've been unlocking like better lighting sources, iron casting, stoneworks, carpentry, all sorts of great stuff to help enhance my crafting abilities. Outside, I have workstations set up, and inside my tavern to get better furniture and stuff like that for patrons to sit on. Social and magic are coming soon. I have no idea what magic is going to be like. I'm guessing, I mean, this is a low fantasy sort of medieval setting. I mean, there are like adventurers that are coming in here to your tavern and stuff. So I'm guessing that magic would be maybe ways to enchant your food and drink in some ways to appease the patrons. You know, again, this is not, there's no combat in this game. It's not like Stardew Valley or even Graveyard Keeper, where there is some amount of combat. This is all about taking care of your tavern. So if you're into crafting games like Stardew Valley, and you're into games where you get to use those crafting skills to sell things like Recettear, Moonlighter, or the Atelier series, then this might be a game for you to check out. It's very, very low key. It's very low stress. You know, even Stardew Valley, you have time limits. There are people's reputations and happiness you want to keep up to form relationships. You've got scheduled events coming up. This game doesn't have a lot of that. It may at some point in the future, but as of right now, there's very little like stressors in the game, which is kind of nice, kind of refreshing. So let's take a quick tour of the tavern. Don't have the cellar unlocked yet because I'm not on a high enough level. Here's my kitty. And then up here I have, say, like different kinds of storage. So I have a buttload of ingredients in here. I basically keep all my raw ingredients in this chest here. You can see I've got worts for making beers. I have hops. I have all kinds of different fruits and vegetables, meats, and grains like barley, rye, and wheat. I also have yeasts I need. I've been buying those of roasted barley for some things. I don't actually know what I use these for yet, but I've made them a few times just in case. And I have barley flour, eggs, sugar, juices, honey, stuff like that to make into different foods. So here I have some food to collect here. So I've roasted more of this barley that I don't know what to do with. So let me pop that back in the chest here. Right click, there we go. So in the kitchen, I have lots of options. So what you have to do with most crafting stations is make sure the fuel is up high enough. So I have a variety of pieces of coal and firewood in my inventory. So I can just left click on these to pile these up in here. I think these give 5 or 6 points. Yeah, 5 points of fuel, and these give like 10 or 20. There we go. Yeah. So I can just kind of pile up some fuel in there. 69 fuel is pretty nice for this, for what we're doing here. So we can make all sorts of different foods. They don't cost a lot of fuel usually. Some of them will cost more, like roasting the beef and stuff like that. So all I have to do to make any kind of food is just click on it. So let's just say we're doing something simple like a roasted beef. And then each of those will sell for 1 silver and 38 copper. And that may change a little bit with the reputation, but that's about how much it's worth. What we could do here is we can modify it. So I might roast this beef and add some carrots on the side. So it will very slightly increase the price it sells for. These carrots are not, a lot of the stuff is not very useful on its own. So while it is a marginal increase, it's a lot of times worth it. So I might say, well, let's add carrots and potatoes. So now we have a veggie. We have got carrots and potatoes are both veggie. We've added some starchiness to it with the potato. And we might add like an aromatic or something. So these are vegetables. Do we have aromatics in here somewhere? I think, yeah, here we go. An onion is an aromatic. So now we have carrots, potatoes, onions, and roasted beef. So now this will sell for a little bit more than it would just by itself. And you might think, well, why waste 4 ingredients instead of just 1? Well, it's because it's an opportunity cost, right? If a customer comes in and they order a roast beef with no modifiers, that's taking the spot of something you could have been spending more on. And again, this is not for the whole thing. This is each sell of one of these finished products will make this much. So that's basically times 20 is what you're going to sell this for. And yes, it cost me money to get the seeds for these, but I grew them myself, so they didn't cost me that much, to be honest. You can see I could buy an onion for 19 copper. So, 20 times the amount that this added is worth that onion, to be honest. So we'll go ahead and just click accept on that, and that'll just cook away on its own. We don't have to babysit this. This doesn't actually take very long. So we come on over here. This is all our malting machine. This is where we're going to make malts in order to brew beers. So we can make light, malt, regular malt, and dark. Those are the options I have right now. You can see they require barley, and they require a bucket with water. Again, I need fuel, so let me just pop some fuel in there really quickly. And let's just brew a dark malted barley. So that's a really easy one. You slap it in there. This takes a while to do. Here is where we have our brewing barrel. So you can see I collected some red wine juice from there. This one, so here I've got dark malted barley, which I don't have. It's on the way here. So instead what I can do is I can go in here and basically check anything that I have the ingredients for. One really, really nice thing about this game, and I hope more games do this in the future, and I think they are, is that everything in this storage chest can be accessed by these crafting barrels. I don't have to run over here, get the crap out of my chest, and then come back over. I'm overdoing that, so I'm glad that this game doesn't make you worry about that. So let's just make a mild wort. So this is going to cost a malted barley, a bitter hops, and 3 of my buckets of water. So we'll go ahead and slap that in there. So that's going to go ahead and brew in there. And then here is where we actually get our actual finished product. So here I've just collected a mead. So I can open this up. Actually, let me look at my inventory. So here's the mead. I made this one is sweet. It has honey. It's got fruity. It's got strawberries, and it's got bitters, juniper. So this is a honey strawberry juniper mead. It's a very sweet, kind of interesting mead. And I've just been doing all sorts of different stuff with this. A variety is good for your patrons, so keep that in mind, having a wide variety. So here I have a very simple veggie, like a tomato soup, essentially. That's all this is. And then here I have bread with aromatic. So it's a garlic onion rye bread. Here is what I was making here. So I've got bread and tomato soup available, which is pretty fun. So let's go back in here. So here's where we actually brew our ale. So I have to have an empty keg. I don't have a lot of kegs right now, so that is something I can craft or buy. They're a little bit pricey to buy and a little bit pricey to craft, so I haven't made like 1,000 of these. So go ahead in here so I can make one thing. So something like the ale requires the wort, the yeast, and the keg. I can go down to here, mead takes honey, and then you can further put even more in there if you wanted to. And then something down here like the wine doesn't need the keg, but instead it needs the juices that I make in this machine here that's covered up, and the yeasts. So I can make different kinds of wines, red, white, and rosé. I can make porters, pale ales, mild ales, meads, lagers, and amber ales right now. I'll pop some fuel in here. And so what do I want to make here? I don't remember what I have on tap. It doesn't super matter because I'm not going to completely fill my spots up right now. So let's just grab a rose wine. And then do we want to flavor this rosé? So this is going to be a rosé, so it's going to be sweet. So we could do something like an apple rosé. I do have like 1 billion apples in here. So let's slap an apple in there. It increases the price a little bit and will also make customers happy because it'll have more flavors to it. So let's do apple, and what else should we put in there? Juniper. How about an apple raspberry? Sure, it's got fruity, juicy, sour rosé. Interesting, sure. So this will sell for $6.99 per serving. So we'll go ahead and brew that up. This one will take the longest. And then down here is where we grind up our grains into flour. So here we've got a white grape must. We can make wheat flour. We can make the musts for the different wines we make here. So let's go ahead and grind up a wheat. Here we go. So we probably want to use that for bread. So you can see our food here is actually just now finished. So we can go ahead and collect that. We get little experience thingies. We went up to 50 of whatever the red is. And then let's go down to something else. They all work about the same. So let's go down to, say, stew. Stew is a very popular one. So stew requires meat, vegetable, and fruit. If we went into something like the bread, we don't require anything other than the base ingredients, which is the flour, the water, and the yeast. We don't have to add anything, but we could if we wanted to. We could put carrots in our bread. We can do whatever we want. But something like stew is a more complicated recipe, and we must put a meat, a vegetable, and a fruit in here. So what we're going to do, sorry, we don't have to put all three, but we do have to do some of these things. So let's slap in, let's make a chicken stew. So it's a meaty stew. It's just got chicken, and that's all it has in it. But we're going to make it more interesting. So let's slap in some leeks and some carrots. So we've got a meaty, aromatic veggie stew here. So this will sell for a pretty good amount. As you can tell, if you remember, the wine was going to be like 7 silver, and this is only like 2.5. So yeah, the wine and the beers are definitely where you make your money, but the food is definitely good to have on your menu to keep your customers happy. So go ahead and cook that up. So let me check my inventory here, see if yeah, I got some stuff I want to deposit really quickly here. So let's just get the must, the juice, and the empty keg we don't need in our inventory. Okay, so let's go check out the actual tavern itself. This game has a fairly extended tutorial, so it will teach you how to do everything, so you don't have to worry about that too much. So here's my tavern. If I go back here behind the bar, this is the most important spot. You can see this is where you pull the beers. So customers, when you open the tavern up, will actually walk in. They'll come up along here to the counter, and they'll line up here, and they can fit about 4 to 6 different people at once up here with requests. And then they'll request whatever you have on your menu or on tap. They won't ask for things you don't actually have, which is a really nice benefit here. So you can see this keg is empty here. So let's open that up with Q. Let's get the empty keg out of there. And then we have a mild ale on tap here. It's almost empty. This is a hoppy, bitter, juicy, fruity mild ale. It's got ale, got a lot going on here. Empty, empty, and then here we have a porter. Looks like this porter I slapped hops and pear in this porter for whatever reason. So I've got a mild ale here. Let's go ahead and open this one and slap in this mead. It looks like I'm a little bit behind on my beers here because I'm still missing one, so I have to wait for that other one to finish brew. And then I've got some foods in here. So I'm going to go over to my menu here on this book, open it up, and I'm going to slap these in there. And then I'm just going to shuffle it up. So you can see I have an incredible amount of things available for people to purchase here. Wines do not go on tap because they're not beers. You sell them by the bottle, so that's why they sell for so much. So I've got a bunch of different bottles of wine here. I have tons of breads with different flavors in them. Some basic ones, like just a basic wheat bread with nothing. I've got onion, leek, garlic, all sorts of different stuff. I have all these different soups here. You can see the ingredients down the side. It also shows what they sell for. This one, for instance, sells for $2 2 silver and 18 copper. This one's 2 silver and 5 copper. The stews here are worth a little bit more. We've got 3 silver there, almost 3. The wines are going to sell for 8. This one sells for almost 8. We have some basic roasted meats for sale that are a little cheaper because they're kind of, they're not as exciting. Sausages sell pretty good. We've got pork, onion in this one. This one's is an apple, pork and honey sausage, like a sweet sausage. So it is fun to kind of play around. I've even got some porridges. This is a very nice variety for customers, and I don't know if there's quite a rhyme or reason to how they order things, but they do tend to like the whole gamut. You'll get them ordering everything on the menu, which is really fun. So this is the inside of the tavern. If I hit B, we enter the build mode. You can see there's now like this border around the outside. I find this a little too subtle. I wish there was something more obvious, like maybe over your head or something that tells you you're in build mode, because it's kind of important. In build mode, I can pick up my objects and move them around as long as the tavern isn't actually open. And this is, so I have like benches, I have tables, I can shuffle them around. There's decorative objects, like I have an incense thing here. I have little golden candelabras here. Here's the big iron candelabras. This is also where you would go in, grab your candles, and plop them down into your different light sources, like so. And this is very important to have a well-lit tavern. You can see these candles burn down over time, and you can buy more. You can't actually make these yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and exit the build mode here. You can also light the fire, and I can keep firewood in here as well. At night, you want to turn on the fire to keep the place warm. You want to hit the fire around, I think it's around 8 p.m., you want to hit the fire a little before it actually drops in temperature. And it's kind of I think it needs a little bit of a balancing, but if it drops in temperature for even like one moment, they will then be upset, but you won't know that until later on in the night when they start leaving, and it's like midnight. Your customers will all be leaving and they'll be unhappy, and you will have no idea why. And apparently it has to do with the fact that the temperature wasn't good for a brief moment 3 hours ago. So you gotta watch out for that. I'm gonna fill my cat's water here. Very Stardew Valley right there. So let's head on outside. I just want to point out I have like coasters, helps to keep the tables clean, because you do have to go around and clean up when people make messes and spill on the tables and stuff. All right, everybody, I'm going to split this up into 2 episodes for this NGG, just because this ended up being a little bit more footage than I thought it was going to be. So I'm going to split this up into 2. So I want to thank everybody for watching part 1. I'll see you in part 2 for the remainder of the introduction and tutorial and stuff for this game. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in part 2.